On behalf of historic Cabarrus and Cabarrus County, welcome to another historical moment in the story of old Cabarrus County and her people. I recently had the privilege of participating in the groundbreaking ceremony for the 7th Cabarrus County Detention Facility. As part of that ceremony, I made some brief remarks about the historical perspective on the previous jails in our county. We're going to use a little different format in this video today, as we're going to base the video on my live remarks on that occasion. Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here this morning filling in for Judge Spainhour on this occasion of the groundbreaking for what will be our 7th Cabarrus County Jail. On January 21st, 1793, more than 213 years ago, 7 justices of the peace met at a large log cabin on the Salisbury Road, now North Church Street, to organize the first government for the newly formed county of Cabarrus. The enabling legislation, which set this county off from the parent county of Mecklenburg, required that commissioners purchase property at a central location in the county, and that public buildings, which included a courthouse, a jail, and stocks, be located at the seat of county government. There was strong disagreement among the residents of the new county about the proper location for the seat of government, and more than 3 years passed before a site was agreed upon, and a town was laid off on a 26-acre tract overlooking 3 Mile Branch and near the old Indian trading path. The name of that town, Concord or Harmony, recognized that those early settlers had compromised their differences and reached an accord in the public interest. We're met here this morning near the crossroads of our beginnings. The 2 main streets of the little village were Union Street and Corbin Street. In their intersection was built a small frame courthouse, 30 feet by 30 feet square, was hot during the summertime, poorly ventilated, freezing cold in the winter. Those 2 main streets divided the town into 4 quadrants or 4 squares. In the last lot in the southwest quadrant of the original town limits, which would be near today's South Union Street and Ford Street, was built that original first jail for the county. At that time, the Court of Pleas and Quarter Sessions, which fulfill many of the functions of the county commissioners for the county in that day, set out the dimensions for that first jail. The public jail of this county, they said, shall be 20 feet by 24 feet, the outside wall to be built of timber 8 feet thick, and another wall to be built inside, the vacancy or the space between the 2 walls to be 20 inches thick and to be divided into 2 departments and an entry. Our earliest Concord historian, Squire R.W. Allison, described it as a house within a house. It was used from its construction in 1797 to about 1810. A lot was purchased in 1810 from John Brandon for a second jail, which was built on the east side of South Union Street near the intersection with Means Street on the site of the old Cabarrus Bank building. The county paid $150 for the lot and built a 2-story brick jail. Each floor had 2 rooms. As was the custom in that day, the prisoners were all housed on the 2nd floor of the jail, and the jailer's quarters were located on the ground floor. Mr. Allison said that neither that first nor second jail was either secure or ornamental. There were only 2 sessions of Superior Court each year at that time, one in the spring and one in the fall, so that prisoners sometimes had to be housed in the local jail for months at a time. Those who were considered to be particularly dangerous were sometimes housed in more secure jails operated by nearby counties. In 1842, the county decided to erect a more suitable 3rd jail and purchased lots at the southwestern corner of the intersection of Union and Depot Streets, which is now Cabarrus Avenue, on what we would call the modern square. That old brick jail on Mean Street was sold to Dr. Kai P. Harris, who tore it down and used its bricks to erect a one-story row of buildings for professional men's use. The third jail was larger. It was also of brick, much more secure and much more pleasing in its architecture. It was built at 2 South Union Street on the corner lot that was formerly occupied by Zach Roberts' camera store and is now occupied by a bail bonding business. Again, prisoners were housed on the second floor, while the sheriff and his family lived on the ground floor. This third jail was built for what was then the substantial sum of $8,000. At that time in our legal history, prisoners could be held in jail for non-payment of debt, much like characters in a Charles Dickens novel. And there was a separate debtors' room on the second floor. If the debtors were unable to raise the necessary funds, they could eventually take a pauper's oath and be released from custody. Adjacent to that third jail, on a lot which is now vacant and is used for parking, was the public whipping post. It was about 18 inches in diameter and 3 stories tall. The whipping post itself was located on the first floor, the stocks on the second floor, and the pillory on the third floor. Sentences in that day were carried out in public, and crowds often gathered to see defendants confined in the stocks or in the pillory, which were punishments that were said to be very excruciating, or sometimes to see a 39-stroke whipping administered. Both the second and third jails were located almost on the very edge of Union Street, so that passerbys often stopped to have a conversation with the prisoners on the second floor. Neither of the jails was especially secure, however, and our early history records at least one occasion when a prisoner climbed down from the second floor window, gave his tormentor a lesson in good manners, and then climbed back up into his cell so he wouldn't be charged with jailbreaking. The county commissioners sold that jail property on the square in 1875 and bought a lot on the eastern side of South Church Street, the present location of the governmental center in the former parking lot for the Stop and Shop. Our second courthouse on the west side of Union Street burned that year, as you know, and the present historic courthouse, our third, was built to replace it. That fourth jail, which was built just across the street from us here, was used until 1914. As the 20th century dawned, security continued to be a major concern for the sheriff and his deputies. In order to provide offices for the sheriff and his deputies and to provide better safeguards for the transfer of prisoners from the holding cells to the courtrooms for trial, the county commissioners erected a large jail facility, our fifth, by making an addition to the historic courthouse. It's now been torn down, of course. That facility was adequate for many years and was being used when I returned here to practice law. It's the jail I remembered Sheriff Roberts from. And it was used until our present and sixth jail was built, construction beginning in 1969 as part of the courthouse project, which resulted in our present courts facility. We've come together this morning to break ground for what is the seventh jail for Cabarrus County. Although we hope that someday the time will come that we need not build newer or larger places of confinement, that day is certainly not here yet. Throughout our long history, it's been necessary to build 6 jails within a stone's throw of this place in order to ensure that the rule of law prevails, that our criminal laws are fully and fairly enforced, that prisoners are housed in decent conditions, and that there's adequate protection for our jailers and for the public. In that sense, this morning we're continuing the heritage of that past 9 generations. Although its construction was necessitated by the present jail's chronic overcrowding, the location of the new jail, its cost, and its architecture have been the subject of spirited public debate. As we continue our journey toward the goals of our first settlers, that is, the dream of a richer and fuller life for our children and our children's generations, we are, like our ancestors, not always agreed on how to realize those aspirations. As we struggle with those decisions, we're reminded of the great truth of democracy, that from open debate and the criticism of policies come right decisions, provided the debate is fair and the criticism is constructive. Democracy is not a painless form of government, and we've struggled in recent years as a county and as a people with difficult decisions, but we've always emerged stronger at the broken places. We've learned to reason together for the great public decisions of our day, as with the building of this detention facility, often require the cooperation of county, city, and state officials. This is an appropriate time and a good day to acknowledge the hard work and the contributions of agencies at all levels of government as they've worked together to balance the wishes and needs of their constituents with the demands for public safety and order. It's especially important for us, I believe, at this stage in our national history, that we come together and that insofar as conscience will permit us, that we speak with one voice. In accordance then with our heritage and our traditions here in this blessed land between the rivers, this place of accord and agreement in this city of harmony, near these reminders of our ancient beginnings, let us resolve that when all debate on this great public work is ended, that we'll come again together in harmony to support the decision of the people through their representatives and to affirm through the construction of this facility the great heritage of equal justice under law which has sustained us, which continues to inspire us, which lights our way through the wilderness of a new century into the unlimited promise of the century to come. Thank you very much. We're glad you could join us for this brief look at not only the history of days gone by, but the history we're making every day in this special place. We hope to see you again real soon.